Hello everyone, this is Satyajit Das. In this video, I'm going to show you how you can get started with Git and GitHub as a complete beginner.
So the first step is to download Git. So you can download from this link, or if you are using an editor like VS Code, then it already comes with Git pre-installed, and I'll be using VS Code in this video. So why Git? So one of the most important reasons behind using Git is to store or track the history of your code base.
What is history?
So if you are starting to work on a project and you're writing code and it is working fine, then let's say tomorrow you make some changes in the code and then you made a bug somewhere and it's very difficult to find. So that should be an easy way to get back to the same state of the code base where everything was working fine. So this is one of the most important reasons why you should use Git, so that you wouldn't get afraid of making experiments on your code base or trying something new on your code base, because even if something doesn't work, you can always go back to where it was working fine. So apart from that, it also makes it easy to collaborate. So if multiple people are working on the same code base, then using this branching concept you can easily collaborate, and I'll get back to that later. And why GitHub? So GitHub is an online platform where you can store the code base as well as your Git history inside that. And it makes it much easier to collaborate and merge changes made by different people, so that multiple people can work on the same code base. And also it helps us track issues and history of any code base, and it makes us easier to customize the accessibility of a code base. So for example, one person who is the owner of the repository, he has edit access, whereas another person who is relatively new in the company, he may need just read access so that he doesn't by mistake make some error in that code base. So you can configure the accessibilities as well in GitHub. So before I move on to the Git commands, I want to go through the logic covered by Git commands. So first logic I'm going to cover is who are you. So there is one command which actually configures your name and your email so that it can easily track who made which changes. Then next logic is, what do you want to save? Is it a file? Like, is it a text file? Is it a Python file? Is it a Go file? So you can give which files you want to save and which files you want to ignore. And the third logic is, what is the current change compared to what you have saved previously. Okay, so you should be able to see what all changes you have made in an easy to view manner. Then what is the saving history? So at each stage you are going to save your work, and at some point you may need to look at the history to see what all kinds of changes you have made, so that you get the overall picture very easily. The next thing is related to GitHub. So how to get what's there in the cloud. So if you are storing something in GitHub or any other GitHub equivalent like GitLab or Bitbucket, so how to get that code base. And the next thing is the opposite of it, how to send to cloud what's already there locally. Okay, so all these logics are like the basic logics which are covered in the basic Git commands, and in the next slide I'm going to show you what are the actual commands which cover the logic. So first logic is who are you. So you can set your credentials and your name and email in the following manner. So you, in this case, you need to use git config. So if you use git config dash dash global, then user.name, and then you can set whatever your name is. Similarly, you can do the same for email. Next is, what do you want to save? So if your project is fresh, you just started it, you will initiate Git. I will show you exactly how it is done in an actual example after I cover this. So you first do git init to initiate Git in your repository, then you do git add to add the files, then you do git commit to actually save the changes, and the keyword here is commit. And the next logic is what's the change compared to the previously saved stuff. So you use git status for that. And to see the saving history, you do git log. where you see the logs of all the previous commits. Then to get what's there in the cloud, you need to do git pull, and this you can do after you have done some authentication, and it will, if you're doing it for the first time, it will automatically ask you, and I'll show you how to do it. And then similarly, to send stuff to cloud, you need to do git push. Okay, so these are the overall basic commands which I want to cover in this video, and I'm going to go through each of these through an example. So I'm using VS Code to show this example. You can use any editor you want, or you can use even terminal. I'm assuming you know a little bit of the Linux commands here. So in my current project right now, I have this folder called Git tutorial, and under that folder I have just one file called main.go, and this is a simple Go program which just prints hello world. So I can run it and it just prints hello world. Okay, so now there is no git inside this repository. So first thing I have to do is git config command. If I do git config user.name, it shows my name, and if I do git config user.email, it shows my email. So I have already done this, that's why it shows it. If you haven't done it, you have to do it like this. Okay, so to initiate git in this repository, I do git init, and it says initialized empty git repository. Okay, so now you can do git add to add your file. So do git add main.go. Okay, now it has added, and next is to actually commit it, which will actually do the saving part. So if I do git commit, and now I can give a commit message. So now it is committed. The same thing, if you're using VS Code, you can do it just by using its GUI. So if I, let's say, make one more change, I'll avoid 2. So I have done the git init. So the git add and the git commit portion, I can simply click on here, and if I click on this plus, then it just adds, and then I can write a commit message here. So I can change, and then I can click on this button to actually commit it. Okay, so I didn't have to write any commands. So these are the two ways you can do it. If you're using VS Code, you don't have to actually type these, you can just use the GUI. So next comes git status. So let's see, git status. Right now, nothing extra to commit because I've already committed everything. Whereas if let's add an extra line, and then I do git status, it shows which of my file is modified. So it shows main is modified. If I had more files, it will show more files here. Next is git log. So git log shows all the history of your commits. So first, as you know, I did an initial commit, then I did a commit message named second change. Okay, and these are the commit hashes. And you can do :q to get out of it. Okay, so this is how you get started with Git. And next would be what if I want to actually store this repository in GitHub. So once you open your account in GitHub, you will see something like this, where you can go to this repositories tab, and here you can click on new to create a new repository. So let's say I name it as Git tutorial. Okay, if I just do this and then click on this create repository, it gives me some instructions. So it created this repository a folder basically, and then it gave me some instruction, like 3 types of instructions are there. So one of them is push an existing repository from command line. This is our case. So we already have an existing repository which we just created. Now we just want to push it to this remote repository. So you can simply follow these couple of commands to actually do that. Okay, so I'm just going to do that. Okay, now it has pushed it. So if I go and simply click on it again, I will see my changes are there. And here I can see the commit history. So initial commit and second change. So now if I make another change, let's say like this now, and I commit it, click on this plus and then click on this tick mark and it's done. Then I can do git push and this will push the changes. If I refresh it, it now shows 3 commits, right? And if you go to the commits, it shows the third change here. So this is how you push your local changes. And what if somebody else is also working on this project and he made some changes here? He pushed his changes to this remote repository. So to simulate that, let's say I add a file here. Let's say it shows me add a readme file, where readme file is a file where you store some basic information about the project to help people to get started on this project. So let's say I add it directly on cloud. So this is a sample readme. So this is basically like a text file. You can just add text to it, and I can commit it directly here. And if I click on this file, it will create and commit it. So now I see 4 commits here, and you see the readme file's contents here. So now what has happened is there is a difference between what's there on the cloud and what is there locally. Locally I don't have readme file, so how will I get it? So that in that case I will do git pull. So I can do simply git pull and it will pull the readme file, as you can see here. Okay, so this is a very basic example of how to get started with Git and GitHub. Now there are some more Git commands as well, which are sort of out of scope for this video, but I'm just going to go through them. So you can create separate branches. I didn't talk about branches that much. So by default, everything is in master branch. If you create another branch, let's say you want to try out something new and you want to only do it in a separate branch so that it doesn't affect the main branch, which has all the main code base. So in that case, you can create another branch and work on that branch only. So this is the command to create another branch. Then if you just want to store current changes without committing it, so then you can use git stash. If you want to pick only certain changes from another branch's commit, then you can do git cherry pick. Okay, and you can do git clone to clone a remote repository locally, and you can see changes between commits using git diff. Okay, so this is a very basic video tutorial showing you how to get started with Git and GitHub, and feel free to let me know in the comment section what extra you would like to see, and if you like this video then feel free to give a like and subscribe. Thanks.
If you like this video, then feel free to give it a like and subscribe. Cheers.